Welcome to JDM Imported.
Hey, welcome back to JDM Imported. Well, I say welcome back. This is episode 2. So for most of you, for any of you, for the 3 of you that have found this, it's more like welcome. So, quick recap, JDM Imported. Podcast going to cover everything from importing cars, things that I go through bringing cars in, my business that I started, Elusive Auto Co, how that's going, what I'm finding, what's working, what's not working. Basically, a completely transparent transcript of the start of this company to the maturation of it to hitting my goal of 18 months from now being in a commercial space. So, quick recap on the business. It's started end of last year. And, I've been importing cars since 2015. I have 3 technically in inventory right now. And it's operating out of my garage. This is my, as the trendy term is now, side hustle. This is my 9 to 1 a.m. every day. I do have a 9 to 5 to, help provide for my family and keep the ball rolling, so to speak. So today's episode, I wanted to first give an update on one of the vehicles I'm working on right now. That's another thing I want to hit on is inventory, things that I'm finding with these vehicles, maybe things, if they could help someone out, help them, save them the trouble. And, if you want to import these cars, if you want to try to do it yourself, I'll give you the tools. The tools are online, but sometimes it's nice to hear from someone directly. Obviously, I will have stuff for sale, for purchase, and services offered as well. But mainly, this is a platform to share. And disclaimer, I'm not an expert, nor do I think anyone is. Expertise usually gets misconstrued with knowledgeable opinions. So in this podcast, I'm gonna touch on some things regarding business. Am I a business expert? Am I a financing expert? Absolutely not. Didn't study any of those things, but I've managed a business, have been for the last 7 years in my day job, and really I think that's what's given me the skill, that and my passion for cars, coupled with some mechanical aptitude. To help this business succeed, and really grow and develop into what I hope will be, my main gig. Actually, scratch that. What will be my main gig? So yeah, to further get on that point of expertise, I'm going to create a transparent business environment, and that goes for anyone that's working with me as a customer, working with me as a vendor, or people that are just casually looking for information. That's my goal. And, if I'm wrong on something, great. I've helped you learn the right way to do it indirectly. If you don't agree with how I might do things, again, this might help kind of focus the path that you're blazing currently. And if you do agree with me, great. Maybe I saved you some time, because we all know that there's no value in information anymore. Zero. If you want to know something, search it. You can find an answer in minutes of anything. I mean anything. If you want to learn how to make rutabaga or do an engine swap in a Miata, you can find it online. So I do not hold the cards with importing with all things JDM. What I can give you is a platform to provoke some thought, to find some information, and quite honestly, sometimes it's just nice to hear it from somebody. You might be listening to this in your car, working out, walking, but chances are you're doing something else because you're trying to make the most efficient use of your time. So if I can help cut down on, as you have known as an import lover, car lover, enthusiast, if you've ever looked for hard to find parts, if you've ever run into an issue with a car and you've been scouring forums for conflicting opinions, it can take you longer than actually the solution itself. So if I can just help some shorten their time, make some more efficient decisions throughout the day, then it's a success. And really, to be completely honest, I want to do this podcast for selfish reasons because I want to have a transcript of what I'm doing. And I think it'll help me. It'll help me build and develop and learn from, missteps, miscues that I might have made moving forward as decisions get larger. So getting on to what's going on right now. So, I might get on some weird tangents today, some rants, because, man, I pulled an all-nighter last night. It was Monday. So Monday night, full day of work, put the kids to bed, had some dinner, and got started on the RX-7. So I have a 1990 RX-7. It's right-hand drive, so it's turbo. FY, all RX-7s, FCs from Japan, that are coupes are going to be turbos, I believe. At least that's what I've read online, and all that I've seen in auctions. So working on this car, and the car's in nice mechanical shape. As with my findings with most of these cars, they're 25 plus years old, and if their paint has a good rating, it's still not really nice. There are exceptions, absolutely. I have had a couple cars actually that really just needed a polish, and they looked fantastic. Most have had paint work done because they're older cars. And the car seems to be in decent shape, but this is one where, original panels, from what I can see on the car, it was repainted, and it was repainted factory color, factory black, but just a piss poor job. I don't believe, it doesn't seem like this thing was used for motorsports or anything crazy, just because of the mods. It has coilovers, it has an RX-8 differential, limited slip swap. Was just an upgrade, but it doesn't have like a two-way locking diff or a welded diff. Or just looking around, there's a lot of original bushings in this that are in decent shape. So that's usually the telltale sign that the car hasn't been totally railed on, right? And it has about 70,000 miles or so, 75,000 miles, if my conversion's right. But so I've been working on this thing and getting it ready for paint. I did need to get a new front bumper. So the factory bumper on it was clearly cut out for some ducting. Looks like there was an aftermarket lip kit or something like that on. Excuse me, I have my email warnings on here. Oh, and sidebar, I'm recording this in my house, so there could be a Pomeranian, there could be a doorbell, but makes it authentic. Anyways, getting back into the FC. So I ordered an aftermarket bumper, and then when I did that, I'm like, well, I might as well get side skirts to match. I am leaving the back totally stock, shaving the deck lid because the spoiler was not in the best shape, and I think it just kind of looks clean, or at least it will give someone a starting point. Because my whole thing is, I want the cars to present well when I sell them, but I also want people to have some options. So I might do some mods to it, but maybe mods that are more foundational. So, and my thought is shaving the rear hatch is foundational, because if you want to put a Turbo 2 spoiler on, whatever it may be, great, you can do that. If you want to put on, a different style spoiler, you won't have holes to deal with. So I patched all those up, and that came out really well. But I'll get back to the main body work. So the bumper, I ordered, I didn't feel like waiting, nor have I had good luck with fitment with origin kits. I've had them on my my SC in the past, and but I like the style, so I got a knockoff. Oh man. So the actual build quality, fiberglass being laid, thickness, flexibility, was actually pretty decent, so I was happy with that. Where we fell massively short was fitment. So the reason I got the knockoff was because I've had the originals, and I still had to do a lot of trimming and some building up of fiberglass in certain areas, certain mountain points. So I'm like, what, if I'm going to do that, I might as well get something that I can have quickly, that I'm not going to have to wait for weeks. And it's cheaper. I have to keep that in mind. I want these cars to be in good shape, and that's why I'm painting them. But I also need to sell them for very competitive, because I'm a new name in the game, I don't have like Driver's Motorsport type garage space and things like that. So I need to be aware of that, and I need to keep costs down while still doing really good work, so I can offer the cars for a decent price, so I can get more and keep the whole gears moving. So I wrestled with this thing. The main reason I pulled the all-nighter, the point of this story was, I pulled this all-nighter because there was a local car show that I really wanted to go to. And I wanted to present this car here, and I had the paint booth reserved. I'm not doing the painting myself. I have a professional do that. But I do the prep work, again, to cut down on costs. And quite frankly, I like it too. And I'm pretty good at it. So, I had the paint booth reserved, and I'm like, I'm in the home stretch with the prep on this car, and I'm like, man, I just have to fit the bumper. Like, I'm good. We're good. So I started trimming this thing, and FCs have really complicated front ends. I mean, from a mounting perspective, it's just a nightmare. Because of the way the factory fenders are, there's just a lot of extra bracing. The bumpers kind of fit on it like from the factory like a nose. Like there's no connection from the bumper to the wheel arch, which is different than most cars. Most cars, the bumper kind of makes up a quarter or a third of that wheel arch, and the rest of it's fender. Well, in this car, it's all fender, and then there's just an extension to the bumper. To do that, instead of your traditional cars having, frame rails and, the fenders just hanging off there, a rad support, some bracketry for headlights, and that's about it. This thing has, like, 4 brackets aside that are all separate, and they're these real flimsy brackets, and they bolt together, and they make up a mount for the front of the fender, and then an extension on to where the fender's going to bolt to the factory bumper, and then there's an extension off of the rad support. It's almost like a secondary rad support, but it's for like relays and some electronics, and I guess bracing, but it really doesn't look like it braces much. I mean, like you could bend it with your hand, but so there's this whole apparatus and then bracketry that comes off there, and then these other supports that'll go to the. I mean, it's like, and then that coupled with pop-up headlights, which I am a huge fan of. I love the pop-ups, but like with the motors and the hinge work and the electricals that come with them, it just the front end of those cars. Like if I was keeping this, I would unless it was a show car and I was gonna have fun with it and I wanted ease of work on, I would just strip it down, tube the front, speed clips, the whole nine. But so I'm getting this bumper fitted, and there needs to be, since the fitment's different than factory, it's kind of a traditional conversion on the origin kit where the bumper extends to the wheel wells. So that's all in well, but you really need to do that, follow the body line precisely, and then your depth has to be spot on, because it's almost kind of like a 90-degree angle where the headlight is, and then it comes down, and then it goes all the way back to the wheel well. And that's really hard to get spot on. Which is why I think a lot of aftermarket kits that are, name brand kits, there's always some work, because, all these cars are going to be a little bit different. I mean, we're talking, like, I made minute changes to the fender well, to the fiberglass around the fender well, and we're talking millimeters at a time that'll totally influence the rest of how the bumper fits. So, I don't fault them for that. I did have to do a ton of trimming on the depth, because it basically overlap the body line. It has to sit in where the factory molding is. I'm trying to paint a picture. If you can't see it, I apologize. I'm going to wrap this up here. But so I do all this work, and I get the wheel wells fit well. I get the body line lined up. Next thing was to get kind of the height where the hood alignment is. Now there's the next problem. The hood comes down, it hits it. So there's some grinding to go there, but it's not consistent. I had to build up. I put some fiberglass, since I trimmed off some fiberglass there. Not completely cut, but I made it real thin. I then took the bumper off again. This was probably my 20th test fit. And I have some epoxy and fiberglass fabric, and put about 5 layers, which, I mean, was probably as much as factory. Like, I built it up super thick, but it looked like an area where it was taking most of the force. So, again, I probably shouldn't. From a time standpoint, I probably shouldn't treat these cars like I was keeping them, but again, in my goal to get fans more so than just customers, I feel it necessary to go the extra mile, if you will. to like, maybe it'll be good for like a month, but if someone taps a parking block, it's going to shatter. So yeah, I might as well just reinforce it. I mean, stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it might take an extra half hour or whatever, but I didn't have to finish it. It doesn't have to look pretty. It's on the back side. No one will ever see it. So I do that, and I get the body lines perfect, and I am happy. I'm like, yes, finally. And this is a Monday night, and I'm like pushing it, and I'm like, all right, like it was like 3 a.m. So I'm like, I'm gonna get shit sleep, but I got this done. I'm gonna throw. I just had a couple coats of primer to put on some spots that I fixed up, level it, and we're good. I could take it on Tuesday to get it painted. So since I took off some pieces from the front end, I took off some support pieces just to make the back and forth of test fitting, a little easier. So I put those pieces back on, final assembly time. And it still hurts. And I picked that bumper up, and it's a little tight because, now we have the bumper support up there, and we have some of the other brackets that I put back. And I pulled it from probably an area I shouldn't have pulled it from, quite frankly, but live and learn. And I heard a crack. I'm like, ugh. No. So the crack wasn't bad. The crack could be Bondoed or fiberglass with that mix. But if any of you have worked with body kits and body work, if you just put something over a crack, it's going to last for like a minute. I mean, really the best way is to get your Dremel out or get something, cut some grooves, some horizontal grooves, almost like stitches across the crack. Well, actually making more work, but it gives you kind of the depth and the thickness to work with when you're building up fiberglass on top of that. That's how you fix a crack that's not coming back, at least from that area. That's how you make it stronger. So I'm like, I got to fix this crack, because I know, like I just knew, like I could smooth it out, put some Bondo over it. I'm going to get it painted, drive around for some pictures, put it up on the market, and either the crack's going to come before it sells or someone's going to take it home and be like, what the hell is this? So I take the bumper off. I put the problem when working with, because I really wanted to make it strong, so I have the Bondo resin mix, which is really nice, that green stuff. I think it's super strong, way stronger than Bondo. I use it on almost everything, and then like a Bondo glaze on top for pinholes. But I wanted to use some backing, some fabric, and I put that on. Of course, North Carolina was one of the coldest nights we've had in a while. And I had the heater going the whole night. Just as this happens, my heater dies. I had to have the exhaust cracked a little bit because I have a fan, because there was just so much dust in the air. Particulates, if you will. Fiberglass. And I was sick of wearing my respirator, so I had it cracked. And like when I wasn't grinding, I wanted to pop my respirator off. So all this happens at the same time. It's 35 at night. And I mean, what's going to happen from there? All of a sudden, the temperature in the garage drops from like a 68 that I had it at blasting to in the 40s, like in a matter of minutes. So, that being said, the fiberglass, I mean, it cured. It will cure, but not in a timely fashion. So I'm like, I'm almost completely screwed at this point that's going to cure in time, but I'm going to do what I can. So I got an electric heater. I put it out on the bumper after I made this repair. I'm like, I'm going to have that going at it. While that's drying, I moved to the rest of the car because, there were some door dings that I couldn't pull out with dentless. There was a couple like sharp ones, where it looks like someone like kind of opened the door just in kind of like on the corner of a wall. And there was some paint work done to it. Some had cracks. So, I mean, you have to do a repair there. So I did some repairs there. There's a couple little dings on the wheel well of the driver's side. Looked like it rubbed against something. And then, I was finishing up the holes where the factory spoiler mounted on the back booty that I smoothed. So I went back to that, and I got that. I put some of the finishing glaze down. That was coming out really well. Hitting it with the filler primer, wet sanding, did the guide coat thing, leveled it. Really happy with how that came out. So I finished up the rest of the body work, and, now it's getting to, I don't know, 5, like it was 5-ish. and I go check the bumper. It's still tacky. Like, I can't sand it, and I have to put a layer to I have to sand it, and then I'm going to be putting a layer of another layer on to smooth it out, filler. And my main concern was sometimes when things aren't cured, especially with that much things that are that toxic, like a resin, there's still gas release. And if you seal that up and like a Bondo cures in, 15, 20 minutes, and that thing's still curing underneath it, I mean, you can imagine it shrink, expands, the gases are, so at that point, I decided I'm going to throw in the towel because it's not worth it to get to this show, to market my car, especially if it's not looking perfect. So I kind of accepted defeat. It's a little after 5, it was going on 6. My wife's birthday was that morning, essentially, that day. So I was going to plan on waking her up for breakfast anyway. So I'm like, well, screw it. I'm going to be waking up in, an hour, 90 minutes anyway. So might as well just finish some stuff on the car. I putzed around with some things. I worked with worked on the side skirts. The side skirts obviously needed some work as well. And just worked on like mounting those better. So there's no real factory place to attach them to. They go on the door sill, and ordered riv nuts. So love riv nuts. First time I worked with them, I got the riv nut tool, the whole nine. It's basically like a rivet. For those of you who don't know, it's like a rivet with like a 2-piece rivet, right? So it's like you almost separate that nail and the part that holds it and replace it with a screw, a bolt, if you will, and like a nut. Like the rivet part's a nut. And you thread that on the riv nut machine, you push it in the hole, it expands, and then you have, like a flush mount thread. So I did that on the door sill, and I'm using those for the side skirt because I thought it'd be cool too. If someone's enjoying the car, and if someone's like racing it, or if they want to do some motorsports with it, the side skirts are going to be low. They're going to be fiberglass. They might get busted up, so it's kind of nice to take them on and off. All you need is a hex key, with some M5 bolts. So I worked on that, until breakfast time. Made my wife her birthday breakfast. So pulled the all-nighter. She was pissed because she's like, you still have your 9 to 5, you still have your day job. And I mean, listen, I can game, I gamed for it, and I was good, I crashed, crashing, I should say, but yeah, we're all good. So anyways, that's an update on the RX-7. I still have some work done on the front bumper. I'm really, I'm kind of struggling, scheduling my time. Well, I guess you could say right now there's so much to do with building the business and marketing. And, if somebody doesn't know you're a brand, you're not a brand. If someone doesn't know you're out there, what's the point? I can scream from a mountaintop that, yeah, I'm a business owner, JDM Cars. But if no one hears me, who cares? I'm on an island. So, there's a lot of work there, and I've been, just doing a lot of testing for different like ads and what ads work, and getting some company documents together for my purchasing program, whereas I basically operated as a purchasing agent. So if someone, for instance, says I want a red Skyline, that wine color, if they let's use something else that you don't see. Like, say someone wants like a Cosmo. Like, hey, I want a Cosmo with the 3-rotor and with the 20B motor in it. And you don't see those things too often. Most companies don't have them in inventory. So I would offer like a purchasing service, whereas I purchase it, do all the importing, the exporting, importing, like everything is done through me. The buyer has to do nothing other than accept the state title when I deliver it to them with with a signature, just as you would any other used car. And work with them closely to pick the car out and kind of set budget, and then it's basically the best of both worlds. You get to pick. Really, in the long run, I think it saves you money if you bought something out of inventory, even from my inventory. I'd have to charge more than my fee just because you're holding the inventory, and insuring it and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a nice option. But I've been I keep tweaking the sheet, this purchasing agreement, because I want the terminology to be really clear, and I want it to feel easy and safe, for people, because it's a big transaction for everybody. Like, I don't care what you're back. Like, it's a big transaction. And especially, if you're, giving money to somebody for a car and then you have to wait, like after we purchase it, like, yeah, it's on a boat for a month, then it gets over here. Then I have to pass it through Border Patrol, and then get it state registered, legal and all that good stuff. So it takes time, and I want to make sure it's really clear, really cohesive, really transparent. So it highlights every step, the person with it. Now it sounds like I'm pitching this thing, but well, you know what? Screw it. Maybe I am. Like, I want to pitch it. I mean, maybe someone has some feedback. Maybe someone could get at me and say, hey, listen, I heard your podcast, that purchasing purchasing agreement, agent agreement, whatever you want to call it. That program sounds pretty cool, or, hey, it sounds like, trash. Why can't I just do it myself? And, I can do another episode really on importing yourself. I'll tell you exactly how to do it. Because really I see value in having someone do it for you, mainly just for the risk mitigation. Secondly, for the headache, because really none of these agencies want to help anybody that imports a car. They have no interest. They're dealing with companies moving millions and millions of products. They're dealing with even at least dealers like me that don't buy a lot and have a lot of cars coming in, but know how to do it, have everything set up, have the bonds, have the clearances, you know what I mean? Know how to do the paperwork. They're not dealing with like third parties on third parties, because if you import something yourself, you have to hire a lot of people to do stuff for you, and there's a lot of trash out there. And how do you know? So in maybe in the next episode or two, I'm going to do a step-by-step on the import process. But anyways, I've been spending a lot of time on that purchasing agreement, and then, like I said, researching the market. And more so than researching, I've been actively doing and just kind of taking my data. So, like running a Facebook ad, see what yields results, see what people like, what they're clicking on. Same with Instagram. I'm having more success running the Instagram ads. I'm still really small. I mean, I only started the Instagram in, December? And I haven't been throwing a ton of money at it yet. I've just been kind of doing test ads, you know what I mean? So, and as I find something that works, I'll probably, start investing more in it, because like I said, I just need eyeballs. I know I can offer a nice service, and nice cars and the follow-up afterwards, but if no one knows me, it's all for nothing, right? If no one hears from me, it's all for nothing. And, it's another reason why I want to do this podcast. If someone's thinking of working with me, maybe you can learn a little more and you say, hey, he sounds like a good guy, or he sounds like a douche, whatever. But at least you know. But like I said, the goal of this podcast is just to share. I just want to share. I want to help people out, because quite honestly, the more people that are educated out there, the better it is for anyone in business, whether you're a customer or not. Because it's just, it filters out redundant questioning, stuff like that. I mean, it filters out, the people that are just coming at you with things that could easily be answered if they open their eyes. So I don't know. I'd rather educate and see what comes back at me in the end of it. So that's what I'm here for with this. And I hope that I hope you continue to listen. I hope that you come on the journey with me. This is, I'm going to keep most of these episodes, I think, a half hour or less. But based on feedback, if people want to hear more, they can hear more. I can sit here and talk, daily for hours. But I need to I need to be honest with myself and the time that's involved in this, and starting the YouTube channel, because I want there to be a video, kind of a video complement to this podcast, documenting everything that's going on, and then all the other things with social media and involved in building this business again in my spare time. And I'll kind of leave you with this thought. I have a lot of friends. I've talked to people, just networking, people through my my day job business, life science recruiting, people in like car shows, and there's just a lot of I'd like to soon, maybe, hopefully, and research and things like that. And not to harp, I was that. Quite honestly, I still am that, right? I mean, it's not like I have this successful business here. Like I am just laying the groundwork. I'm putting a ton of time into it, but I waited too long. Made excuses, did too much research. I've learned more doing than the prior, I don't know how many years of just reading books and motivational quotes and, how to do this, how to do that, videos, podcast, like so much, and I just didn't do. So, I hope if anyone listens to this, they can maybe find some motivation to do, or say, whatever they're thinking of, that maybe they hear some of the things I'm going through and they're like, this is not for me. Because quite honestly, running your business is the most expensive job you'll ever have. Every spare dollar I have goes into this. Any money I make on this business goes into it. I net to myself zero, and I plan to net zero as long as I possibly can. Because to me, that's the only way that it's going to grow and turn into a service that I want, and that I want to provide, not just a money grab to sell cars and make a profit, but really kind of a full service company / consulting. So whatever, because I'm open. I'll leave you with that. We don't have time. We can make time. I don't have time. I have a full-time job, 2 kids, a wife who I cherish and I still make time for. And there's just other things that I've had to cut out to make time for this company because it's a priority. Really, it's just delegating your resources. And your time is a resource. And we all have the time. We just choose not to use it for certain things. And use that, I think, like I did in the past, is a crutch. It was way easier than trying and failing to just say, I just don't have the time, like I just crushed at work and family, and I'm not saying stay up all night, but if you're thinking of something, the extra 2 to 3 hours a night that you just after dinner, like, well, let me like chill, let's like catch up on my shows, or like, when you're at work during the day, it's like, well, I've worked hard, let me just like check online. I mean, we know, like I know if you add up all those little 15, 20 half hour drifts, we'll call them, at work, where you just kind of fall down a rabbit hole, then you get back on track. I mean, it's like hours a day. You could get a lot more work done, have a lot more free time, and it's hard and it sucks. But I found motivation in just keeping my eye on the prize to, and it's given me energy. Man, is it giving me energy? That I can pull this all-nighter, that I can stay up late, and I still want to keep going. So, again, this isn't law. It's different for everybody. I'm just sharing my findings. So, I wish you the best. Follow this podcast. Let's keep going. Feel free to email Dante at elusiveautocompany.com. Any import questions, of course, you can DM me, messenger me on all the social media, Elusive Auto Company page on Facebook, Elusive Auto Co. On Instagram, Twitter, and then Elusive Auto Co. on YouTube. I have one video up. It's just a video of a Laurel as of today that I sold. And, I'll be doing some walkarounds and some garage videos and stuff like that. Kind of having fun with it. It's adding a ton of time to the garage, but I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. And it's, again, another nice way for me to document this journey and keep things going. Even after this journey, it's never going to be complete. I have this goal of commercial space, and there'll be a whole nother slew of content with how the commercial space is going and things like that. So I plan on being in this very, very long term. So I look forward to hearing any feedback. Like I said, follow if you enjoy the content. If you don't, thanks for stopping by. Wish you well. And we'll see you next time. Later.